recorded live from the lobby of the Line Hotel in Adams Morgan, Washington, D.C.
Peace, everyone, and welcome to the Edible Activist Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa L. Jones, broadcasting live from the lobby of the Line, D.C. This podcast is where dynamic people of color in the food and agricultural space share their personal food journeys, passions, and perspectives that stem from the land, all exemplifying the spirit of activism in their own edible way. Let's get started. Peace and welcome to the Edible Activist Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa L. Jones, broadcasting here on Full Service Radio. All right, so day 199, whatever. I don't know with the pandemic. The days seem to blend together, but there's joy. And this podcast is joy. So thanks to you all for still rocking with us and bearing with us as we use other means of technology to push these stories through. So family, we got a good one today. I'm super excited. So as some of you guys know, vegetable and fruit seeds have been leaving the shelves like mad. At least that's what I've been witnessing. And many of y'all are probably in the garden or probably like me, like just getting started and saying, what the hell, right? LOL, laugh out loud. So let's ease your anxiety today. Let's probably ease my anxiety today. So on the show, I have Timothy Hammond, who is the founder of Big City Gardener. He actually is the Big City Gardener, who hails from Houston, Texas. Okay, H-Town. We're going to shout out H-Town, Beyonce, and all of them. Hello. BCG is where Timothy shows tons of tips on gardening hacks, projects, delicious dishes from produce he has harvested, and a place where he has so much fun with his family. Timothy has been a part of some really cool experiences, guys, including shooting a Miracle Grow commercial. He's been named a top 20 garden influencer and has even grown produce for executive chefs, and so much more. Welcome to the Edible Activist Podcast, Tim. I'm so excited to have you today.
How you doing? Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm doing well. I say on a scale of 10, I'm like 9.5, I'm 9.5. So it's not bad. How about yourself? There's a lot of craziness going on, but on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you choose? Where are you at?
Man. I'm 9.5 like yourself.
I love it. So those synergies are already, melting together. So this is going to be a great show. I love the vibes already. Timothy, I was actually introduced to all of the work that you've been doing via a good friend that's been on the show, LeVan Anderson, who is a photographer in DC. And that's how I learned about Big City Gardener. I was just like, whoa, like he's the plug. He is the plug. And while I'm on this show as well, I have to shout out to my brother, my nieces, and my cousins. They actually live right outside of Houston. So shout out, bro, sis, cousin. They're down there doing their thing. So anyway, so happy to have a Texan on the show and to learn a little bit more about your story, Timothy. So many of us, folks up here in the DMV, and we have listeners from all around, aren't familiar with your story, but like I said, you are the plug and you are doing it. So definitely just wanted to hop into your story a bit. I know you've been asked this question 1,000 times from what I've researched. I know that you studied business or finance and economics, and you started a hydroponic store. And you actually kind of just like grew up like growing flowers and, in the garden. And so just want you to take us back a bit and just, tell us a little bit about your story and the birth of how this all got started.
Oh man. Where do I start? I don't know. Growing up, both of my parents, they were into gardening. So I have memories when I was younger, just being in the garden, getting in trouble for picking tomatoes that weren't ripe and throwing them at my neighbor's house when I wasn't supposed to. I don't know, man. I've just always really enjoyed gardening. Maybe I was forced to garden when I was younger, but then as I got older, it kind of just became a passion of mine.
Wow.
So yeah, so really I have to thank my mom and dad. While you out here giving shout outs, let me give a shout out. Shout out my mom and dad for turning me into the gardener that I am.
That shout out mom and dad. That is awesome. So are you originally from Texas and is your family from Texas?
I was born in Baton Rouge, but I was raised
Oh,
in Houston.
okay.
And no, my family is not from Texas. My family is actually from Jamaica.
Oh, you know what? I did peep the Jamaican flag on your profile. Yes. Should have shouted that
Yeah,
out. You know, we always got to shout out West Indians, man. Y'all don't play.
we out here.
I love it. So you just grew up in the garden. You just, like you said, growing to, picking tomatoes that weren't ripe. And that was just a thing. That was just the environment that you were surrounded around. And that's awesome. So when you studied, when you were in college and you were studying, business and economics or finance, like you've always had like this entrepreneurial mindset. Is that right to say? Like you always knew that you wanted to go into business in some capacity?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think when I was younger, my first original dream job was to be a marine biologist, but that's when I was a little kid.
Whoa.
Then yeah, I wanted to study whales and dolphins, but I'm talking like probably fourth grade, third grade. That's what I wanted to do, or that's what I thought I wanted to do. But then as I got older, I just kind of got exposed to businesses from, I don't know, watching people wash cars to seeing people mow lawns. And it just seemed like I've always kind of, I don't know, been drawn towards business and entrepreneurial ventures. So, yes, when I went to school, I knew all along, or it's always been a dream of mine that I wanted to own my own businesses or really just work for myself.
Yeah. It's interesting, and I'm sure you already know this. So for those who get into gardening or some type of like agricultural project, right? They a lot of times they just do it because, same as you, like they grew up in that environment or it's just something that they fall in love with. And then it becomes the question of like, well, how do I monetize this? Like in a lot of folks have issues, troubles or challenges monetizing what they do. And so from you, like you've built an entire brand behind Big City Gardener, which sounds organically because you're like, hey, I just fell into this, but I also knew that I wanted to, have a business in some capacity. So definitely just want you to touch on like the business side of gardening and just from the standpoint of building a brand because folks think it's so linear, like you started gardening and it's just like, okay, well, how can I monetize this? Maybe I'll offer consulting services. Okay, bam, that's like one spoke, right? And maybe I'll sell seeds. That's another spoke. But a lot of people don't think. And as we get more into technology and more to social media, it's about building a brand. And I'm sure you didn't have plans for that, right? It just all just happened.
No, it all just happened. I can, all right, I'll tell you a story. Prior to Big City Gardener, I had never been on Instagram. I had probably never been on Facebook, and I know MySpace, none of the social media, nothing.
You're lying. I don't believe you.
No,
I don't believe
these are
you.
facts. These are facts.
I
You
do
can you
believe.
can
I'm joking.
you can
I believe
fact
you.
check that with anybody who knows me.
Just a caveat. Okay. So not, I'm all about the followers, but like I'm all about engaged followers as well. So just FY, just to set the tone, like Big City Gardener, he has over 30,000 plus followers on his platform and engage people who follow him. So that's why I'm saying I don't believe him, but I do. Go ahead. Proceed.
So Big City Gardener really just started because of a good friend of mine by the name of Chance Foreman. He kind of just pushed me towards it. He was like, man, you know a lot about gardening, and we've had some of our best conversations or come up with some of our best ideas while standing out in a garden. You should try to teach people or just tell people about gardening. So yeah, it really came from that. I just hopped on Instagram. We kind of came up with the name together one day, standing outside in the garden, and then I just decided I was just gonna kind of, I don't know, talk about gardening. When I started to look at Instagram and see who the gardeners were, who you could follow, I noticed that there was, there wasn't anybody who really looked like me doing much gardening on Instagram. So I just kind of hopped in, found a lane, and I'm just kind of running with it, and it'll go where it goes as long as I stay consistent and active and true to what it is that I stand for, then, the brand will build and everything will come with it.
Absolutely. And that's what I was going to say. Like you said, we just started it, but you were just being your authentic self, and that's a big piece of building a brand. And a lot of times, folks want to build a brand. And I know sometimes I'm an overthinker. Maybe a lot of times I'm an overthinker and we want to get it right. But it just sounds like you're just being authentic and true to yourself and just doing what again, you grew up around this and you were just like, hey, this is what it is. We're out on the world. We're just going to push it out there. And Mama, we made it almost, sort of, kind of.
Oh, soon, hopefully soon. But yeah, that's exactly it, right? To me, and I don't know if this applies to gardening, but just in life, you see a bunch of people, they try to mimic what other people are doing, or maybe they look and they see that there's an opening in a market, and then they try to fill that void in the market. Right. Well, I didn't come into this with any of those expectations or thoughts. I just came into this like, hey, man, growing tomatoes is fun. You should try it. And then when you grow the tomatoes, you should try doing this with it if you never have.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Just, I don't know. All I know how to do is just kind of be real and be myself. So that's all I'm trying to do is just present myself and what I think is cool and entertaining or dope or fun or whatever. Present it to the world, and maybe somebody else will get something from it, and that's cool. We get more people growing food.
Hey, brother, I am with you. I am with you on that. Well, we also on this show talk a lot about, reimagining ourselves on the land as people of color, Black people and people of color, which is part of the foundation of Edible Activists and Food Talks and Color in general. And so we talk a lot about reclamation and really, wanting this platform to really be an inspiration to other Black people and people of color, how they can reimagine themselves on the land, whether everyone doesn't have to be a farmer, but just in the smaller scope of that, being a gardener. So obviously, definitely just want you to touch on any misconceptions about the art of gardening and who it's for, because a lot of people think, especially being a Black male, a lot of people think, oh, it's only for women. But exactly, you laugh, warranted, but just dating back to our history, men have always been on the land, so it's just really dispelling those misconceptions and saying no. And my other follow-up question to that too, after you answer that question is, when you got started in all of this, did you see an influx from Black male gardeners or farmers or those who wanted to get into the agriculture space? Did you see yourself fielding questions from men of color?
Oh man! All right. So the first question, I think people just kind of with day-to-day life, you get distracted or you kind of forget that at one point in time, everybody gardened, regardless of race or where you come from or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Prior to the industrialization of food or even of the world or the spread of technology, everything was grown locally. If we go back, I don't know, probably 2 generations or grandparents' generation, they can probably tell you who all of their farmers were, where all of their food came from.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like that's very important. I feel like we've lost that. So I don't know, I'm just trying to help people, or through Big City Gardener, with Big City Gardener, just kind of help people reconnect with the idea or the concept of food in general.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did I answer that question?
You did answer the question.
Okay. All right.
There's so many ways. It was a lot to unpack. And I'm definitely the person who asks a question, and there's never a linear response. So, but also, coming up, being as though that you, like I said, as you said, actually, you grew up in this. So did you ever get questions from outsiders about, being a gardener and, is this something that you really want to do? Or did you get any backlash about it? Or was just or not?
I don't think very many people who actually knew me know that I gardened or how much I enjoyed gardening. This is something that I kind of kept to myself. This was my little I don't know, your happy place, your little sanctuary, whatever you want to call it. So,
Really?
yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely. Well, first off, I don't really just have a whole lot of friends.
Mm-hmm,
Man, that
mm-hmm.
sounds bad now that I say that on the
It,
podcast. I mean, I have friends. I'm cool, all right? I have friends. People want to hang out with me. I'm just saying, like,
I got you. I got you. You
okay,
don't have to explain anything to me. I got you.
all right, all right. So I just not a lot of people would come over to my house and see my garden where I would do my thing. It was just a select few. So the people who came over, they knew that I really enjoyed gardening. But for the masses or most people who might not be invited to that space, I'm sure this is pretty interesting for them to find out that I don't know, so into gardening. Now,
Wow.
did I receive backlash or anything from it? No. No, I think more just people surprised, like, man, you actually know what you're talking about. Like you didn't just Google that and read the answer off Google. No, no, you actually understand why this stuff works and how it works.
Wow. Wow. This is why I love, and yes, I can be biased because it's my show, but that's why I love unearthing these stories, right? Because Tim just let the cat out the bag. So for y'all who did not know, this was his little kept secret, and you would never know that. Thank you for sharing with the Edible Activist podcast, Tim. I appreciate that. But no, that's really cool and that's really dope. And maybe backlash was like the wrong term, like the wrong word, but just like, people are judgmental. And again, especially being, people of color, Black people and people of color, it's in us really needing to reconnect back to the land and reclaim whatever that is maybe it's reclaiming your backyard, your side yard, your front yard, and growing food, but just really wanted to just get your perspective on that, and if that's been anything that's come up in your journey. And I'm just really curious, and I know the world is curious. Like, everything is rhythm and flow. Like, everything has a rhythm. Like, and I know this is going to be a hard question to answer as well, but you do know what you're doing, and I know like you have like this whole like this simple process of like just do it. Like his whole motto, everyone's just grow it, right? Isn't it just grow it, just grow it?
Just grow it.
And like, is that part of your rhythm? I'm just curious, like, how do you just get in the rhythm of doing this? Because it's not easy for everyone, but also we tend to overthink and we set in our mind that we can't do something before we do it. And that's probably why it fails or the plant dies and the flower dies. But just like, how do you just get into the rhythm of gardening? Like, how can one find like their groove? Because you found your groove. And I know you listen to music too. We're going to get into what you listen to when you out in the yard.
Okay. Okay. So how to find a groove? I think first it starts with just really understanding what it is you are doing or why you are doing, not what you are doing, right? Like, why am I out here gardening? Am I out here gardening just to grow food? Am I out here gardening because people say it's cool? Or am I out here gardening because I'm trying to reconnect to nature? Maybe I'm trying to let go of something that's bothering me. You just use it as sort of an escape. So if I'm thinking of it as an escape or using it as a way for me to kind of take my mind off of what's going on in the day to day, then in order for me to get in the groove, or how you get in the groove is just kind of look at it like that.
Wow.
Stop really focusing on, man, I don't know, his tomatoes look better than my tomatoes, or he grew more peppers than me. Stop worrying about the actual outcome of the food or the flowers and just kind of think of it more as a therapy or just a way to, I don't know, get away from day-to-day life or get away from things that are bothering you. Just I think that's the first step into finding a rhythm, is to realize that this is not just about throwing a seed in the ground and growing something. This is about more than that. It's deeper than that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
then when you see it like that, then it's like, all right, cool. I'm really just out here to relax. So if I get a tomato while I'm relaxing, that's cool. If not, oh well, let me figure out why it didn't work. But at the same time, I'm not gonna stress myself over this garden. This is supposed to be a way for me to de-stress.
Mm, wow. All right. So you're pretty much telling me like don't compete with Tim and trying to build that trellis.
No, no, no. Well, first off, you
Joking.
don't want those. You don't want these problems. All right, you don't want these garden problems. Okay.
I damn sure don't.
and
No,
and
sir.
second, and second, like the trellis is just to support the plant.
Yeah.
So your trellis doesn't need to look a specific way unless you're worried about the aesthetics of your garden. Your trellis just needs to be functional.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if I can just get a string and run a string from one fence post to another, that'll work as a trellis. I mean, it might not look like the $500 trellis or the $100 trellis, but it does the same thing at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And while building the trellis, that's another time for me to relax and let my mind do its thing and recalibrate, or whatever it is you want to call it.
Wow. Well, no time like ever before. It's just like a time for people to really get into their groove and their rhythm, especially with their why, with everything that's going around, with the pandemic, the health crisis. As I said, I mean, you can't go into the store and you can't find seeds on the shelves, or if they are there, they're there for a day and then they're gone, right? But like the
Right.
biggest question is why? Self-reliance, self-sufficiency. I want to feed my family. I want the
Hmm.
ease in knowing that I have food in my backyard and I don't have to worry myself going to a grocery store or a market because I'm afraid I might get sick or catch something, or I may not get the quality produce going to a certain place. That's a big why, you know?
Right.
So that I think that is super, super important as the foundation of, getting into your rhythm and groove of just doing this whole thing. And that's so important, especially digital space like Instagram, Facebook, social media, where everything is built on like algorithms and aesthetics. It's so easy to get caught up and, I want my space to look like this, or I want a greenhouse, and that's, largely and part of what I like about your platform is that you showcase like these various hacks, like, hey, this might cost you $5 to do, or hell, if you got some bamboo laying around, you too can accomplish this. And I really like that about your platform, but that why is very important. That's super, super important. So what are you growing? What all you got growing right now?
Oh, let's see. Right now,
Everything.
I got tomatoes, peppers, I don't know, some spinach still probably. Uh a bunch of herbs, a bunch of flowers, some potatoes, about to get some sweet potatoes out there.
Wow. And how much space are you, and do you have chickens too, Timothy? Did I,
I
did I
have chickens and bees.
Wow. Oh, you have bees. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I did not
Oh
know that.
yeah.
How much square footage are you working with behind your house? And this is the inspiration to those who also say that they don't have the space to do it, or they don't live in a house, they may have a balcony. Hell, my friend told me as long as you have a windowsill, some sun, some water, you're good,
That's all
So
you
how much,
need.
that's all you need. How much space are you working with behind your house? The sidewalk, wherever
I
you grow.
Let me look.
You don't need to pull
It
out a measuring tape right now.
no, it might be 50 feet wide by I don't know, 12 feet deep, maybe
Wow. Oh my gosh. You hear that?
14 feet deep.
Family, you hear that? Like,
No, no,
you're
I
not.
lied. It is not 50 feet wide because there's a shed. It is 20 feet wide. Yeah, 20 feet wide, 12 feet deep.
Wow. Wow. Cause I'm just, by looking, not that I'm like stalking your backyard or anything like that. You're there all the time. It's just, I'm like, he's not working with that much space, but he has enough space to do what he does. Like big
Right,
city gardener.
right. So so it's also like I just try to show people, like you just mentioned, you don't need a lot of space to garden. if your goal is to use gardening, I would say more therapeutically.
Mm.
And that's really like growing the food is great, growing the flowers, growing everything is great, but I use it more of, that's like that's my woosah. What's that Martin say? Remember the pressure points and Bad Boy. That's my woosah. I'm rubbing my pressure points out there.
Wow. That is incredible. That is so incredible. I love that, whenever you harvest, some of your produce, like you turn them into these amazing relishes and just, concoctions. And I was even watching a video of you making onion powder. Can I tell you how
Hmm.
inspired I am? Do you know how much onion powder I buy from the market? Do you know? Oh my gosh. So like, do you feel like, were you a chef before all this? I say quote unquote chef. And when I mean like, were you a cook, or do you feel like growing has really just given you, I feel like for me, especially like going to the market, and just like some of the local markets, I love supporting our Black markets. It just has definitely given me the confidence just to create meals. Do you feel the same way, or have you always been? And look, you're a West Indian. It's in your blood. It's in your blood.
So, so I've always enjoyed cooking, but I would say that when I really, really got into gardening even more, or when I got more into gardening, that I started to look for different ways to cook food, right? Or just I started to explore cuisines from all over the world and see how people in, I don't know, India or Asia or Australia, how they would cook these greens or how they would cook these peppers. And yeah, so to answer your question, yes, I've always been a cook, or I've always enjoyed cooking, but gardening has helped open up my eyes to other cultures.
Wow. 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 So, all right. So I'm a first time, I'm doing this for the first time, and I'm speaking on behalf of just everyone. Okay. I'm a pretend person. I'm a real person, but pretend person. But, what are some suggestions on like the first three things that anyone can do just to get started? You already said your one. If you want to include that as number one, know your why. That's warranted.
Yeah,
Know your why.
yeah.
But like,
Number
what are the
one,
next?
tell you why. Number two would probably be understand that the soil is the most important thing.
It's your main crop,
Not
right?
not the fertilizer that you add, not the pot that you're growing in, not the raised bed or what it's made out of, but the actual soil that the roots and the seeds touch is the most important thing. And third would be grow something like just strange, different, out of the ordinary that you would have never thought about growing.
Mm. Hmm.
Right? Like if you're going to get into gardening and you're like, man, I want to grow watermelons. All I want to do is grow watermelons. Well, grow something that's completely opposite of watermelons. And now you'll have both of those experiences. But from growing the other crop, you might learn something that makes you a better watermelon farmer or watermelon grower.
Wow. Okay, I need my opposite now, Tim, because I definitely picked up some watermelon seeds like a couple weeks ago. And I felt like I was being pretty damn ambitious when I picked up those sugar babies, okay?
You need a lot of space for those watermelons.
I'm working with some space. I'm working with
Okay.
some space. I'm working with some space. Okay. Okay. So know your why. Soil is very important because as someone told me, it's your main crop. I studied a lot about soil before I got into this whole space. It was so fascinating to me about, from a climate change perspective to, soil health for our produce and just our internal bodies. It's super, super important. And you said grow something that you would just never have thought to have grown, just something total opposite of like the norm that we would typically
Right.
get at a grocery store. Okay. 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 I like
And
that.
to touch back on that soil health, it's or the soil. it's the most important thing, or you should pay the most attention to it, because I think everybody has the misconception that you fertilize the plants, or that's maybe what
Mhm.
fertilizer companies tell you. You need fertilizer, you need fertilizer. But if you think about the soil as being alive, you need to feed the soil, and then the soil will feed your plants for you. You need to feed the soil, and the soil will make your plants stronger and more pest resistant and disease resistant.
Y'all hear that?
Yeah. So if you don't take anything else from this podcast, just remember, don't focus so much on fertilizer in the sense of feeding your plants. Try to think about feeding your soil.
Feeding your soil.
Mm-hmm.
Turn that into a shirt, Tim.
You
I
know
like
what?
where
Let
your
me
head is
write
at.
that down. Hold on. I'll be on the phone.
Do you know how many
Feed
I've given
the
so many
soil.
shirt ideas to a lot of guests? They'll say something, I'm like, turn it into a shirt.
I might just do that. That's on my to-do list for today now.
That's I was fed. That's really great food. That's really great food. That is awesome. So just in a few moments we're gonna close out, but just a couple more questions for you, Tim. Now outside of, gardening at your home, and I enjoy seeing the photos of your kids in your backyards picking up worms. And I think I caught a video yesterday. You did like a little Easter egg hunt in the garden. I swear, I don't have any kids, but that was the moment I was just like, I want a family. Let me borrow 2 kids real quick so we can have a little Easter egg hunt in the backyard. It's
I got two right
amazing.
now. If you want to borrow, I got two right now.
You know what? Next time I come to Texas, I'll scoop them right on up. Get
Okay.
permission first.
Okay.
Get permission first. That is awesome. But no, I just love just seeing you, just pull your boys in and just have them be a part of it. Like I didn't, I will say, even though I didn't grow up, my family's from the South. I was born in Mississippi, raised in Maryland. My mom is straight Alabama. My dad is straight Alabama. Definitely have a lineage of agriculture in our family. Um, and, though I didn't grow up, in a garden, I'm just so thankful that I grew up playing outdoors and climbing trees and getting dirty. Like I know when people say go play, I know what that actually means. I know what that means. I mean, being outside all day, not coming in till like, the lamppost comes on, like I know what it means to play. So I just really just love, seeing you incorporate your boys. And that's so super important to get your kids out at a very early age. Because it's, I view nature in us as individuals, like we're one and the same. We grow the same way, and it's just, there's definitely like this symbolic relationship between human, which is, if we really want to go down that route, human, hummus, soil, and agriculture, there definitely is that relationship. And, I wish that everyone kind of just like, just get that in their head and just understand that. But again, this is a learning journey for everyone. But anyway, outside of gardening at your own space, or what other projects are you involved in? For what I understand, if this is still correct, do you also manage a farmer's market as well, or your community farmer manager? Or please let me know if I'm getting that wrong. I'm just interested in what else, everything else you
Listen,
got going on.
so I work with an organization called Urban Harvest, and another organization, Northeast Council Redevelopment District. And we started a farmers market on the northeast side of Houston. That's an area with a bunch of food deserts. They don't have a lot of fresh food options. So we started a market to try to change that, give people some options, and also just people in the community, or really anybody who has a product that they're interested in selling, just like any other farmers market. We're just trying to promote commerce and health and wellness at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Hmm.
Very cool. Yeah, I don't know too much about the food, like the landscape in Texas, other than it's a very big state. But obviously there are food insecure areas in Texas, in Houston, as there is in other major cities, smaller cities, towns. So no, that's really cool. That's really cool. All right. Last question before we get into our rapid fire. What have you been
Okay.
listening to? What have you been listening to in the garden, Tim? I'm interested. Give me a playlist.
Oh
Because you love
man.
good music, all right? So I want to know what's on this playlist.
You know, I'm uh it probably have some old Wayne on it. Old Wayne before I felt like, he kind of he
What
went a- he
happened
went a,
to him?
no disrespect to Lil Wayne. He
No.
is still the GOAT, one of the
Yes,
GOATs, but
he is. He really is. He pushed me through like my 10 years ago. He pushed me through. You know how in
there
them eras that they just push
yeah,
you through? Little
yes.
Wayne is definitely. And let's not take it back to his Cash Money days, okay? That's a whole nother
See,
conversation.
so you're liable to get Wayne from Cash Money when he's young and Hot Boys all the way up to probably Carter 3. I was
Yes.
probably done after Carter 3.
Yeah. Yeah. But big up to Wayne though. Big up to
Yeah.
Wayne. All
Yeah,
right.
you're gonna get a lot of Jay-Z on there. You'll probably get some Jada Kiss.
Okay, Jada Kiss. All right.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah. You'll get I don't know, man. You're liable to get a mix of everything. You'll get some Red Hot Chili Peppers in there, the Black Keys in there.
I'm not
Uh,
mad. I'm not mad. Okay, this is what you
just
need to do. When you are out, and I know you're super busy, you need to create the Big City Gardener playlist on Spotify. You heard it from
you know
me.
what?
You could do it next year, okay? Just know I have planted. This is a seed that I am planting, okay? Go and cultivate it as you wish, all right?
You know what? Hold on. Let me write that down with the t-shirt idea number 2 to
I'm just
do. Big
saying. And when
City
it blows
Carter
up,
playlist.
just remember Melly Mel, Food Toxicolor, Edible Activist Podcast. Awesome. Tim, I've had so much fun chatting with you. This has been so much fun. So when I'm in Texas, we got to do an in-person interview. All right.
Come
Is
on.
that cool with you?
Come on. Yeah,
Awesome.
definitely.
Awesome. I
Thank you
need
for
to.
the opportunity.
Yes. Yes. All right. So I got a few rapid questions for you before I let you off. Are you ready for me? The first
I'm
one
ready.
might be hard, but I'm going to ask anyway. All right. Tim, what is your favorite veggie?
Potatoes. Because you can cook
All
them. You
right.
can cook them like a million different ways, right? Hash browns, boiled potatoes, mashed, scalloped, whatever. Yeah, potatoes.
Third thing on your list is a recipe book. All right. Moving forward. Favorite fruit?
Favorite fruit. Um, Mangoes, guava, tropical fruit, man. It's
Of
yeah,
course, West Indian,
yeah,
Jamaican. Okay,
yeah.
absolutely. All right. Sweet, spicy, sour, salty, savory, or bitter?
Spicy.
I knew you
And
were going to say spicy.
whoever answers bitter, I don't know that we can actually hang out and be friends.
You don't like bitter?
No,
Okay,
no.
so so bitter, and I don't think it's like the bitter. It's kind of like, so I had a friend. So I added it on to the list, right? Because I had a farmer friend who is actually in, oh gosh, she's in Trinidad right now. Like she does cacao farming. She's amazing. And she works for a producer who does cacao nibs. And so when we're thinking about bitter, we're thinking from that sense, bitter,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
like some people actually ingest like bitters, but okay, I got you. Spicy. I knew you were going to say spicy,
Yeah.
Jamaican
Yeah.
bloodline. Okay, I hear you. All right. One action step someone can take towards edible activism.
Ooh. Uh man. Uh okay. Okay. Next time you make a meal, ask yourself, do I know where any of these ingredients that I'm cooking came from?
Ooh, that's homework.
Bam.
Oh,
Yeah, there
dang.
it
All
is.
right. Oh, okay. That's my homework too. Shoot. Okay. All right. Depending on what day you ask me, I can tell you. Like 2 days ago, I can
Okay.
tell you. All right. Cool. This has been amazing. Thank you so much, Tim. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you. I just love your work. Amazing. Again, I'm not going to get on your level, but I'm on my journey, okay? And I'm inspired. I truly am inspired. So I definitely look forward to pulling more of your gardening hacks and just seeing your garden blossom and just everything else that you're involved in. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me, and hopefully we'll chat again.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I had a great time.
Awesome. All right. Peace, y'all.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We are here live on Full Service Radio every Wednesday at 11 a.m., where you can catch today's episode on fullserviceradio.org, as well as iTunes and Spotify. Be sure to follow me at Food Talks in Color on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Are you an edible activist? Sure you are. Come join me on the show. I would love to feature you. Just shoot me a DM on the gram. Peace and blessings all. And remember, there is no culture without agriculture.